All right, party peoples of the interwebs, this is not my typical home office, but my goodness, could I get used to this. This is a Tesla Cybertruck. This is more specifically the 1775 coffee Tesla Cybertruck that they're giving away right now, so that every dollar you spend on 1775 coffee, the delicious coffee that it is, enters you in the draw to win this car and $30,000 cash. They've just given it to me for the week so that I could test drive it and make some vlogs in it, and it's beautiful. The acoustics are amazing. The air conditioning, which runs while you're doing this, is silent as anything. This car goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and then from 60 to, I didn't get that far over 75 in like 2 whatever seconds. It's amazing. It is a modern engineering marvel. I forget who said it, but they said like the distinction between science and magic is virtually indistinguishable. I blew that expression, but you know exactly what I'm saying. When you get to certain levels of scientific engineering, the difference between science and magic is just understanding how it happens or not understanding how it happens. All right, set all of that aside. As if it hasn't been a big enough 3 weeks since Donald John Trump has taken office, the last week, I'm telling you, the news is moving so fast, even I cannot keep up with it. I don't know what stories to cover because there are simply too many. It is the shock and awe of an amazing Donald John Trump presidency. The news of the week was the USAID being exposed as the tax money laundering fraud scheme that it was. Heads were blowing, proverbially speaking, from the Democrats. And that is the week after the Pete Hegseth confirmation, which made their heads explode, which was the week after the Pete Hegseth confirmation hearings, which made their heads explode. Then you had Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel hearings, making their heads explode. It has been 3 weeks of crying liberal tears, Democrats' heads exploding. They don't know what to do because they can't keep up with it. But the story for today is the court order coming out of New York District Court Friday afternoon, basically preventing the executive functions of the government from doing their job. A state court intervening in what was arguably an excess of jurisdiction. But if you don't know the details, we'll go over the details, then we're going to go over why this is so bloody judicially scandalous. From legal insurrection, judge issues emergency order halting DOGE access to Treasury payment system. Temporary restraining order granted on a Friday night with no opportunity for the government to be heard and without any obvious emergency so dire that even a day's notice was not permitted. Posted by William A. Jacobson, Saturday, February 8, 2025 at 7:20 p.m. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock, my goodness, can you please invite me in because it must be very peaceful down there. DOGE, Department of Governmental Efficiency, the newly created government office of sorts that is intended to maximize government efficiency, which means finding all of the waste, including the USAID, but it's only 1% of the federal budget, $50 billion of waste, funding DEI, operas in Ireland, comic books in Brazil. I might be getting the details wrong there, but you know what we're talking about. Yeah, they are being prevented by a state court from doing their job. A state court in New York coming in on a Friday night. Ex parte means that even the government was not notified and could not make representations in the absence of any dire emergency, basically preventing the Department of Governmental Efficiency from doing that which Donald John Trump was elected to have DOGE do. U.S. District Court Judge Paul Engelmeyer in the Southern District of New York, the Southern District of New York, people, serving on the court's emergency docket. There's always a judge available, has granted an emergency temporary injunction to the state of New York and over a dozen other blue states, putting on hold the access that U.S. Treasury Department Secretary Scott Bessent had given to DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, to Treasury payment systems as part of Trump's effort to locate and eliminate waste and fraud. The Southern District of New York is arguably the most corrupt judicial district in the world, right up there with the DC circuit of corruption. And yeah, it's New York State, you know, Letitia James corruption, Judge Engelron corruption, Judge Marchand corruption. It is a state of pure corruption, and they found their corrupt Southern District of New York District Court judge to enjoin. It literally makes so little sense given that there's no emergency and that they didn't even allow the government to make their representations, and now they're intervening on what is arguably but not so arguably federal executive jurisdiction. Let's read on, shall we? It was an unusual procedural context. I've reviewed the court's electronic docket and it appears to have been ex parte. There's no indication of notice to the government and opportunity to be heard before the judge ruled. The procedure was a proposed order to show cause, including a temporary restraining order. It's the type of procedure used in only the most extreme emergencies. The OSC is not unusual, but including an ex parte TRO is unusual. TRO, temporary restraining order. It was a Friday night move to deny access that, by the paper submitted, had been going on for over 2 weeks. The 60-page complaint and 40-page memorandum, plus a short affirmation, obviously took a long time to prepare, arguing an emergency so dire and time-sensitive on a Friday night the court couldn't even wait until the next morning for the government to be heard. It also reeks of judge shopping because plaintiffs would have known who was the emergency duty judge, so by going in on a Friday night night, they evaded the normal random assignment system for this purpose. In other words, corruption most foul, courtesy of the Southern District of New York and that corrupt commie hellhole of a state. But what is the nature of the complaint and the order that was issued by this judge on a Friday night or Saturday morning ex parte? The short version of the complaint and claims is that Secretary Bessent violated various procedural requirements and that there is a threat that sensitive private information could be exposed. Considering that the Chinese government thoroughly hacked the Treasury computer systems under Biden, it's odd that the mere possibility that DOGE might mishandle the information required a Friday night court intervention. I think there are serious standing issues with the states bringing the case as well as the harm being speculative. According to the author, this seems to be a repeat of 2017, where the resistance had good luck with district court judges, less luck with appeal court judges, and very little luck with Supreme Court justices. But that's besides the point. This is all about slowing down the Trump agenda and wasting months or years before a final resolution is reached. Democrats don't have to win in the end to achieve Democrats' goals. And let's read the order as it currently stands, but I suspect will not continue to stand in short order. Pun intended. Orders that sufficient reason having been shown thereof, pending the hearing of the state's application for a preliminary injunction pursuant to Rule 65 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, that defendants are 1. Restrained from granting access to any Treasury Department payment record, payment systems, or any other data systems maintained by the Treasury Department containing personally identifiable information and or confidential financial information of payees other than to civil servants with a need for access to perform their job duties within the Bureau of Fiscal Services who have passed all background checks and security clearances and taken all information security training called for in federal statutes and Treasury Department regulations. 2. Restrained from granting access to all political appointees, special government employees, and government employees detailed from an agency outside the Treasury Department to any Treasury Department payment record, payment systems, or any other data systems maintained by the Treasury Department containing personally identifiable information and or confidential financial information of payees. And 3. Ordered to direct any person prohibited above from having access to such information, records, and systems, but who has had access to such information, records, and systems since January 2025 to immediately destroy any and all copies of material downloaded from the Treasury Department's records and systems. And as the author of this article himself noted, it would seem to ban Bessent himself because he's a political appointee, so it might just be another case of another corrupt judge from New York going a little bit overboard, but by the time the damage is done, who's here to pick up somebody? Okay, hold on one second. As others have pointed out, as worded, this would appear to bar Bessent himself from access to these systems, even though he is the Treasury Secretary, because he is a, quote, political appointee. And you have Elon Musk himself tweeting out what he thinks about all of this, and he is none too impressed with how the stuck pig is squealing, and that stuck pig is Democrats with a capital D and the deep state that is seeing their funding and financing drying up overnight and their corruption exposed for the world to see. But this is what Elon Musk had to tweet. Elon Musk at Elon Musk. To be clear, what the at DOGE team and at US Treasury have jointly agreed makes sense is the following. Require that all outgoing government payments have a payment categorization code, which is necessary in order to pass financial audits. This is frequently left blank, making audits almost impossible. All payments must also include a rationale for the payment in the comment field, which is currently left blank. Importantly, we are not yet applying any judgment to this rationale, but simply requiring that some attempt be made to explain the payment more than nothing. The do not pay list of entities known to be fraudulent or people who are dead or are probable fronts for terrorist organizations or do not match congressional appropriations must actually be implemented and not ignored. Also, it can currently take up to a year to get on this list, which is far too long. This list should be updated at least weekly, if not daily. The above super obvious and necessary changes are being implemented by existing long-time career government employees, not anyone from at DOGE. It is ridiculous if these changes didn't exist already. Yesterday, I was told that there are currently over $100 billion a year of entitlements payments to individuals with no social security number or even a temporary ID number. If accurate, this is extremely suspicious. When I asked if anyone at the Treasury had a rough guess for what percentage of that number is unequivocal and obvious fraud, the consensus in the room was about half. So $50 billion a year or $1 billion a week. This is utterly insane and must be addressed immediately. So that is where we are at the shock and awe stage of the first 3 weeks of Trump's presidency. He's heading into the fourth week of what has been 3 weeks of Make America Great Again. again. That's the latest. Obviously, Robert Barnes and I will be talking about this during our next Sunday night show, which is actually going to be tomorrow at the time of shooting this vlog on Monday because it's Super Bowl Sunday. And even though I'm not really into the Super Bowl, obviously, because I'm in my car right now shooting a vlog, I know a lot of people are. So tonight's show is going to be tomorrow as at the time of shooting this vlog. I very much like this Tesla Cybertruck of an office, but I'm not going to get used to it because it's not my car. It's going to be some lucky person out there who's going to win after having bought some delicious 1775 coffee. But that is all for the day, people. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, get out there, exercise, eat healthy, get some sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah! The car has automatically stopped because it identifies that vehicle right there on the wrong side of the road. I didn't do anything. Right now it identifies a person. The car's moving, as you can see. And now when it's ready, it says vehicle has exited off-road mode. That has nothing to do with anything. Now it's going to go because the road is clear. Just like that. And there's a cone here that it's not going to hit. Look at this. Amazing. Hands off. Speed bump. Knows it. Slows down. We're going to get to the intersection. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. I don't know how it's going to decide when it's safe to make the turn.
Same.
It's got a camera here. Okay, it's going to be after the next car.
AI is
Watch this.
driving
It's going to do it right now.
If they don't crash.
This is so... Why did the windshield wiper just do that? Okay, I didn't do that. And now it's going to accelerate.
Maybe AI pressed the wrong button.
The government is trying to get me. That's it. Look at that. How cool is that?